Valentino, you gotta let me know when you're up and running, man.
Yeah, I will.
So I could pass through.
Yeah, I will.
See how this. I know you've been working on it for a while.
Yeah, it's on now.
Graham still helping you out? You still getting...
Yeah, Graham's helping me out. Just help out with the Christmas Day party.
Okay.
I give away to the kids. About 200 kids.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
All right, good. I could see us be live. Let me listen. Okay, good. You good to go. All right. Start to record. All right, welcome back. Under the Rug, we are live, and this is, I'm very excited for this show. But it's not a good reason why I'm excited because of the events that led to me wanting to do this topic. But I'm excited to get to the bottom of the issue that leads to these problems that we have in this country. And I say all the time that we have a violent culture in this country. A lot of people like to deny it. They don't want to admit it. But we do. We have a violent, aggressive nature in this country. And the reasons why I feel we have that, people like to get on me for, because those that know me know my views on corporal punishment and the way we parent in this country. I'm completely against, beating up on your children and cursing your children out. And we have a tendency to do that in most households. Children are, greatly abused, and I think that's like at the core of why we have such a violent culture in this country. But what we're going to do is we're going to dive into the different aspects of it, and I wanted to bring in some people. I wanted a nice, diverse group of people to talk about this issue. So I sought out some specialists, and starting with the great Dr. Michelle Major.
Yes.
Dr. Michelle Major, who's a psychologist.
That's right.
Psychologist, and I had to clarify because, God and us, psychologists and psychiatrists is the same thing to us.
Yes.
But like she said, there's a great difference between the two. But
Absolutely.
She's a psychologist. And then we also have, everybody know you, Scrooge.
Yes.
Valentino Brown. Valentino Brown has had we all know he had a rough past, rough childhood growing up. Used to be a gang leader.
Yeah.
I heard you on Morning Blend the other day. You had to clarify it was gang leader, not just gang member.
Yes, that's a
But
difference.
you were a gang leader back in the day, and you have completely turned your life around, doing some great things in the Bain and Grantstown community.
Awesome.
And you have your own. Is it a restaurant and bar?
Yeah, I'm on a restaurant and bar that'll be opening very shortly.
Awesome. So you've turned your life around completely. So we want to get, how you got into that. We're going to dive into that later, how you got into the gangs and how you turned your life around. And then you also brought Hugo. I'm meeting him for the first time. So Hugo could probably introduce himself and let us know exactly, what it is that he does and his involvement with Valentino.
Well, good day under the rug and associates. It's a pleasure to meet you, Michelle. It's a pleasure
to meet you.
Mr. Collie
Same here.
the first time. And hello, Facebook.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'm just a regular guy who saw a lot of the problems in our society, in our community.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm the type of person, I don't like to complain. Before I open my mouth to complain, I prefer to be able to offer a solution while I complain it.
Exactly.
And I met Scrooge.
Mm-hmm.
I saw what he was doing. I realized it makes sense, and I introduced myself to him, and we figured out a way that I could assist.
Mm-hmm.
And
It was on from there.
it was on from there.
Awesome. Now, let's dive right into, because and like I spoke of earlier, the event that led to wanting to do this topic is, of course, the stabbing incident at GHS last week.
Yes.
I think it was. No one died, right?
No.
No one died, but
No.
I think it came close. He was in critical condition, and I don't know all the details of exactly what happened. But it was a stabbing that took place, and apparently some other people were also injured in whatever fight or whatever it was that took place. But I was listening to the dialogue on radio, and it's like people are acting as though this is something new or some new wave that has just come around recently. But like we were talking before we started the show, this has been going on from I was in school. I remember, and I went to R.M. Bailey. I remember gang fights all the time, people getting stabbed, people getting, having big rock fight in the mall parking lot every week with C.I. Gibson. So this is nothing new. This is something that has been going on for a very long time. But what I want to do is get to the bottom of why it occurs. So, Valentino, if you could just briefly tell us your story and what led you into becoming first a gang member and then a gang leader. What was it that caused you to make that decision?
Well, I want everyone to have a good time talking, so let me make it short as possible. First of all, before I was born, My mom was 8 months pregnant, and she was a drug addict. Whilst I was in my mother's womb, my father was in prison for murder. So, and because of that, when I was born, my grandma took me the first month that I was born because she said my mom was not a responsible parent. So she took me from a baby and she grew me up, teach me the core values of life, you know, the Ten Commandments, etc. A very decent family, uncle, auntie. But because of that, I didn't have that tutoring that really was like a father or mother who would normally walk a child to school, pat them on the back, look at their homework, you know, make you feel like you're a part of a family, that you're loved. Even up to this day, I still don't have that feeling. I never knew. I still have that kind of feeling right now, whereas I still feel lonely.
Wow.
So without that, you know, in the community that I was growing up was a very drug infested. I consider myself a drug baby. When drugs hit National Providence, we were the first wave. And like I said, my mom was on drugs. And because of that, like I said, I grew up in a neighborhood where other young men and females who were growing up in the community, or older guys, they were the ones who were doing a lot of armed robberies, attempted murder, rape.
And what would be the age of the guys doing these things at this time?
Well, around this time, the guys were the age around 35, right? 35 was like the age when the guys were really doing criminal activities back in the days. But we as young guys who were growing up in the community were learning off them. So we watched those guys did all that stuff. They did robbing people, stabbing people, doing etc. You know, violence in the home where the mother and daddy can't get along, and the children is being cursed, like you said before. Parents through agitation and frustration. The parents them say these things. I don't think some of these parents mean to do it.
Right.
Because of the frustration and the need is so urgent and the want is so much urgent, they retaliate on their kids. And this, in turn, pushes the kid away for it. The neglect policies with what is actually to make them be successful in life. They become receptive. So this is how I got like this. Good grandparents, auntie and uncle. But outside our community, this taught you to be tough. It was survival for the fittest. So at 13, 14, 15, we were committing house breaking, you know, stealing to survive, you know, stuff like that to make sure we can, you know, this kid stuff, you know, and this stuff led to us being involved in gang activity. So we started a gang. I was in a gang from the age of 16, 15, let me see, correct? 14, 15, 16, I was really involved hardcore in gangs, and that's where I took off.
Okay. And what drew you to the gang?
What drew
Was
me?
it just like because what I get is it seems as though you're seeking like that acceptance, like you said, you didn't have that father or mother to show you that love or that care or that reassurance.
Yes.
So was that what you were seeking when you joined the gang?
Well, without no curricular programs in the community, you know, besides Father Thompson, who also got killed in armed robbery, all right, that's the United Church, with no programs, mentorship, no leadership from I would say the outside world, we were led to create our own, what you call, school system. So that means what I'm talking about, we learn from one another based upon what we learn in the community. And that led to me becoming a very, very criminally minded young man. And my friends, young man, because that's all we think, all day. Violence, violence, violence. It was because also the neighborhood that I was living in, if we live in Grandstand, East Street was rebellion raiders. The rebellion raiders were taking over Nassau, New Providence. So you didn't have to be involved in a gang for you to be associated with a gang. The neighborhood you lived in was already a gang affiliated area. So even if you lived in one not involved in a gang, these guys still would come and beat you and whatever the situation is. So that's basically it right now.
Wow. Okay. Michelle, give us a background. Just give us a little bit about you and your experience with dealing with children. Like you said, you taught at inner city schools in the United States. Give us your background and your experience and the similarities between the inner cities in the United States and here in the Bahamas. What's the common things you notice when it comes to, you know, the violent culture within these societies?
So my background related to this is twofold. I mean, as a psychologist, I worked in inner city schools, some of the worst in South Florida. I worked with gang members. I actually went to school with one who came out of a gang, and worked with at-risk populations in working with them, and actually had a grant from the government of the United States for $7 million to transform the public school system, and I was one of the leads in that.
Okay.
So understanding the mechanisms of just human behavior. This is, while this is a Bahamian thing versus an American thing, and, you know, people quick to call in and say, well, we ain't in the States, so that don't apply to us.
Right.
Okay? The reality is we are humans, our needs are the same in many ways. You know, when I meet people on the street, it don't matter if it's from over the hill or behind the gate. Everybody wants the same thing. They want a happy life. They want a job. They want their children to have a good education. They want no taxes. They want to make money.
Right.
You know, you meet people. We all want the same thing.
Right. I agree.
The reality is the difference from the field perspective when we talk about making a change is our culture. What the difference is we aren't about asking why. We're about this inherent. Well, they choose to be bad.
Yes. I agree.
You just bad. You need to be punished. Just give them
these
a good
children
cut
don't
hip.
want to learn. They like to sit at.
Just give them a cut up. You know, take them into jail. You know, they think they man.
Right.
You know, then let them be man. You know, and so that is what I find the difference is. We don't ask why. We don't ask when those boys stabbed that kid why. We don't say, how did this get to be this way?
Right.
We know that was a 3-year-old with a good heart that just wanted to please his mommy and get love, and now he's killing somebody.
Right.
We're just going to say he bad. He need to, you know. That's our problem as a Bahamian culture. That's where I see the difference.
Right.
In the States, you have both sides. You have the why, and then you still, of course, have the people who think more like we do. But I find as Bahamians, we go straight to that.
Yes.
Even the other day when I saw on Facebook this coach turned down these kids from playing basketball because their GPA, was low. I don't know the story. But and everybody was like, yeah, that's good. That's good for them. What do you mean?
Right.
If his GPA is low, why is his
Exactly,
GPA low?
right.
And if this is keeping him off the streets and he's in basketball, working as a team and learning how to work together, why are you depriving them of that? So, we're looking at this as a community the wrong way.
I agree.
And it ain't a political thing. There's nobody asking the right questions.
Well, I sure they didn't ask the boy if he was PLP or FN before they stab him. You know what I mean? Because we tend to want to turn everything political in this country for some reason. But you brought up some very important points, and I completely agree. We just want to go straight to the punishment.
Right.
Yeah. We don't ever want to dig deep and find out why is it, and how did they get here?
And this amazing man who's standing here, I am very blessed and honored to be in your presence, sir. Very, very blessed, because you are an inspiration to so many. Is a prime example. He, in his very brief, he hit all the points I'd want to say. There is what happens before he was even on this planet.
Right. Yeah, he did start before he even came out.
But his conception. We don't understand that. I mean, his mommy, he knows, was on drugs, so he has that information. We know drugs has an impact on the brain. But did you know that at the time of conception, if the man is even drunk, the baby is going to have issues?
Really?
Yes. So you don't even have to be a drug mummy or a daddy on drugs. At the time of conceiving, if a man is high or is drunk, his sperm will carry that into the conception.
Boy, well, hold on now, because, boy, I ain't gonna lie.
So exactly, because doctors will say, oh, you have slow swimmers, drink some caffeine before you go to conceive. Why? Because the caffeine speeds up the swimmers. It takes just a few minutes to get in your system. So when we're going back in time, we have to understand from a culture and a community as Bahamians, we don't even have to get into drug abuse. We are a culture that is very abusive of just drinking.
Yeah, because I was about to say, a lot of children were probably conceived while the man was under alcoholic beverage.
Exactly.
That's why we have so much violent culture in our country now.
So what happens then is right then that child is already is created. We ain't even say born yet. We ain't get to when it was born. already created to be at risk. It's already at risk. No matter if the mommy cleaned the whole time, the baby can already be at risk.
Wow, I didn't even know that.
And so you can be at risk at affecting the temperament level of a child. You can be, so a child who's easily aroused, easily emotional, easily impulsive or irritable. And so now that baby is born, let's say there's no trauma at birth, which trauma could happen, right? And if the child is premature, you're automatically going to have impulsivity issues, okay? Because the frontal lobe here is the last part of the baby's brain to develop. And if you're born premature, it stops. So your attention focusing ability, your organizing and planning is going to be affected.
Wow.
So if you're premature, you're automatically going to have issues with this as well. Okay? So we haven't even gotten to the environment to which a child was then placed, right? So now that child is placed, like you, in an environment that isn't a nurturing environment, a stimulating environment to bypass maybe some of these things, okay? And on top of that, it may be the opposite of that. And now this child is being born with needs that they're not getting. This is a
recipe for disaster.
It is a recipe for a disaster. This is what I call the game of life.
Yeah,
right.
And he's not the only one. And I asked Hugo before, like, when I listen to the dialogue and you hear people, oh, well, that's the parents, that's bad parents, they ain't raising their children right. You didn't have parents.
No, I had the
So,
parents.
and you weren't the only one. So what do we do with people like in your case, where, like you said, your mother was a drug addict and your father was in jail. So you had no parents. So what do we do? Because people always want to blame. They just want to point the finger and blame somebody for the reason. So what I want to ask those people is, what do you say in a case like yours? What are we supposed to do? You want to touch on that, Hugo? What are your feelings? What's your feelings on that? Like the children like Valentino or many others that don't have the token mother and father in the home that come up in that environment.
Let me go into my background, right? I was brought up in a good Christian home. I had both parents.
Okay.
In fact, my father was a police officer, so I was brought up in a disciplined environment. But all of that being said, I still had participated in some negative activity growing up, but because of my upbringing, I knew how far I could go without going over the threshold of being a bad boy like him. But I was still, like you would say, at risk because of the environment that I was in. I had friends who was doing bad things. I've been riding in cars with people who had guns. I've experienced being pulled over by the police. I've been in situations where, as good as my upbringing was, I could have ended up in jail. You know, and our society today, yes, we want to blame everybody for everything. And she said it perfectly when she said that we go direct to the extreme punishment.
Right.
But when you talk about now solution, you have to first understand the problem.
Exactly.
And for me personally, understanding the problem was my way of understanding the problem was attaching myself to him.
That's
And
how you do
by collaborating with him, the perceptions that I had, I realized were wrong. Right? For instance, poverty.
Okay.
Let's look at the poverty. In a home that's lacking any finances and a child is going to school hungry and they develop in an atmosphere where there's no father figure, the mother is doing whatever she could to...
And she's trying hard.
She's trying,
Yeah.
even if it's prostitution or whatever, the child is exposed to that. So the child just naturally assumes, well, that's how you live.
Right.
Right? And that child ends up in a situation where they graduate from school and they end up becoming a criminal or whatever, or what we would term a criminal. And they now start to do, participate in things that cause them to become known to the police, what we like to say.
Yeah, we like to use that
You
term.
know, and when they find themselves in jail, when they evaluate what's going on in their life, they realize that jail ain't such a bad place because the reality is where they was living,
Was
how they
probably
was
worse.
treating, is wasting the situation they find themselves in jail. So
Isn't
that's
that
why you
something?
have this revolving cycle now in people in and out of jail, because would we would look at, oh no, you don't want to go to Fox Hill, but we don't live in the circumstances that some people do.
And some people don't
And
realize
then
that.
when you look at it from that perspective,
Yeah.
you now begin to understand how serious the problems are within the community.
Yeah, because I mean, if your environment is worse than what
Well,
they call now the Department of Corrections, they're going to say
Yeah.
a Majesty's prison, but the Department of Corrections, I mean, if your environment is worse than that, then we have some serious issues that we have to deal with.
Yeah.
But I want to touch on something that you said, and it's you came up in a two-parent home.
Yeah.
Like you said, what we like to call a good Christian home.
Yeah.
And but you still were in situations where you could have very well found yourself in jail and considered to be wayward or criminal.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I tell people all the time. I mean, you could have outstanding parents that do their best
Absolutely.
job.
True.
They do
Absolutely.
their best and things that, because what we got to realize that human beings, we are our own individuals. We have a mind of our own. At the end of the day, the decision lies with us.
Our society is unforgiving. It only takes one incident to happen for you to be associated with, and you have to carry that for the rest of your life.
I agree. But like you said before, negativity always outweighs the
Yeah.
positive.
Yes.
You have to do 20 good things to erase a negative, even if that, and sometimes that doesn't even get erased.
But you were talking about choice. But in reality, in the same way you was talking about going to jail is better, some of this is choice, even knowing the difference, because it is there to, it feels better. So if you were born, as I said, and you go to school and you got a learning problem, right? We don't have the resources to help kids, right? This is my job. I'm failing every day. Somebody's making me feel stupid
Yes.
every
You're right.
day.
You're right. You're right.
You ain't studying enough. You tired, you lazy, you rude, you unmotivated, you just need a good cut hip, you ain't doing your homework. Meanwhile, no child is born lazy.
No.
Okay?
No.
They want to please, they
Right,
want to make
yes.
Grammy happy, they want to make mommy happy, they want to make the teacher happy.
And most importantly, they want to learn. This is why I
Yes.
hate to hear people
Yes,
say
yes.
these children don't want
Want
to
to
learn.
learn.
That
That
is
is
the
not
stupidest
the
thing
truth.
ever.
But what happens is that then a child goes, this is their life. And in their life, they're already starting as a failure. These are the messages. I'm getting Fs, I'm doing this, I'm getting... So what are they going to do? I always make the analogy, we could play poker. I give you 2 chips, I got 1,000, let's play this game. You could play with me? No. Why? Because if I have 1,000 chips and you have 2, you can lose them.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
It's stacked against you.
Exactly.
Yes,
That's
yes.
how life is. Every child wakes up with a certain amount of chips. If they pass a grade, they get, oh, you're a good baby. Oh, awesome,
Yes.
I love you. They gain chips all day long. And as a parent, a community, we want our kids to go to bed with more chips than they woke up with. However, we live in a society where children are going to bed with less chips than they wake up with. What's wrong with you? Why you ain't like your sister,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You's a sissy A,
Uh-huh.
Right.
right? So that's taking away chips. So what happens? You owe the bookie.
Yeah.
So what happens? You don't want to play this game no more?
You surprised
I
me.
like-
She,
Right?
she surprised me. I want to say Facebook. She surprised me.
So what you could do?
Uh-huh.
We are humans. We
Yes.
want to be successful. Guess what? I'm successful. But give me your money. Give me your money.
Uh-huh.
And guess what? You could give it to me.
Yeah, you better
And
give
guess
it.
what? I got an A.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's what it is.
100%.
Wow.
Achieve my goal.
Yes.
You-
Right?
Uh-huh.
You see, we talked about this earlier.
Uh-huh.
If a guy pulls a gun on you, he's a hero, right? When
Right.
he goes boxy, we live in a reality, right? And we live in a different world. Fox Hill Prison is a different world. Bay Street is a different world from Grandstand. And that world you talked about just now is the reality for many young men growing up in the
Yeah.
country right now.
Yeah.
So how you going to get them out of that? Why? I am finally successful. Ain't
Right.
nobody calling me stupid, dumb, you ain't good for nothing, you is this, you is that. I's a man.
Right.
I is a gang leader.
Right.
I got family. They got my
Exactly.
back.
Exactly.
So how are you supposed to transfer? That's why I say this man is amazing. Because how do you suddenly say, I want to go to a world where I am nothing? Where they look at me and say, oh, you did this crime, something, you're not a good person. Why would I want to go into that world? When
And
in
that's-
this world, I'm good.
Yeah, and like
I'm
you said,
successful.
and like Valentino said, you get that reinforcement and that praise from your peers, and that's all they're seeking is just that acceptance.
That's all of
Right.
us. That's all we seek.
Yeah, and that's just that acceptance. And if you can't get that from the people that are supposed to love you most, which are your parents, right at
In
home,
the community.
you know, if you can't get it, then you're going to seek it elsewhere.
another way.
Yes.
Yeah, you're going to seek it elsewhere.
You
But
will.
we don't want to address that.
You will.
We also have to look at the things that got us where we are. We have some habits as a society where it's something I never agreed with, counting murders. You know, why would you want to count murders? I mean, yes, I understand the need for keeping a record to know, to measure.
Maybe you mean announcing it all the time, like every time, like in the news, because you have to keep a record. But I mean,
Yeah, but
the announcement of it.
It's like if we go overboard with this, how much keeping
Right.
this that the murder is only the result.
Exactly.
You know, what about the fear of crime? Nobody talks about that. You know, and murder is only one crime.
Yeah, exactly.
That's only one crime.
Yeah.
But we put that as like, if the murder count is down, it lends to the idea that crime is down.
But that's how the
It's not
government approaches it.
necessarily the case,
Exactly, because you could have armed robberies, you got rapes, you got molestation, you got a lot of violent crimes.
When we parade criminals before the court and we show it on TV, they call it the bank lane shuffle. That
Yeah.
sensationalizes the whole thing, and now these guys become cultural, not cultural.
But that's because we
icons.
come from that perspective that they're bad. Oh, yeah,
Right.
this is good. They're getting punished.
You're getting punished.
Yeah.
But in their world, they now become a hero.
Yeah, because of
Right.
that attention. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Ramsey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I was also saying, that's just the button to add some truth to what you are speaking. Now, you talked about the young boy who got stabbed, the next student. In fact, there's information that those young guys tried to gang that one young
Oh, really?
gentleman.
The one that got stabbed?
Yeah, I hear you to try and avoid that. According to doing some research in Yan, the public view, and a few persons said that a group of young men tried to gang the one who stabbed the young boy, to more like provoke him.
Oh, hold on. So you're saying they tried to gang the person that actually did the
Did
stabbing?
according to what we're hearing now. So what it is
That's
in
interesting.
reference, now what it is in reference is, this has been going on a long time in the
Yes.
public school. I was involved in an incident before. Many other young persons were involved in incidents where there's stabbing going on, a lot of school violence. But the point I'm trying to share is this. When we talk about the police, right, I just like to say this, the police is doing an excellent job, but they also need to be more community-minded and
Yes, I agree.
community-spirited
I agree.
towards this problem. They're doing a great job because they take a lot of guns off the street, and I just want you to know this. And I just want to say this because I want people to know this. Mostly in our country, we talk about 400 guns, what the police takes off the street. But if you look at the 400 guns they take off the streets, if we have a murder count of 100 plus every year, and with 400 guns that they take off the street, I'd say they save 200 plus lives because
Yeah.
the guns they take off the street, because that could be a gun who's going to shoot you, going to rob you, who's going to do something to somebody in the country, regardless of this firearm. So the police does an excellent job. So imagine our murder count, what it would be now if these 400 guns wasn't not taken off the streets
Right.
by the patrol car.
And even, like you say, the police doing a good job. We could say the paramedics do a good job
Excellent
as well,
job.
because that we don't take into account how many people get shot.
All right.
And then they go to the hospital, and then they're broke because they could
Stay safe.
exactly
All
they
right.
could easily be a murder that's added as well.
All right. Now, yes, I also want to let the viewers know this too. This is statistics that most people don't talk about, but you analyzing and being a part of the criminal world, I learned to understand the criminal world. So I was more like a professor, like, oh, she's, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm just like, oh.
Right.
Yep.
The kids in school, they're not prolific offenders.
Okay.
They're not repeated offenders. They're not no first-time offenders. So that means the law doesn't apply for them. That means they're not criminally minded. Now imagine that. You're 13, 14, 15, but you're already criminally minded. But you're not a prolific offender. We'd all say people in the country who are doing crime are prolific offenders. Not the case. It's the environment now. It's causing these kids now, when they leave from home, seeing someone brains on the ground, seeing their mother, daddy fighting the road because of, like I said before, this pressure, life's pressure. They're seeing these things. They live in a one-bedroom home where their mother or daddy, want to have sex. Now, it's only one bedroom.
Right.
And like I said before, the parents might not intentionally are doing this, but because it's a one-bedroom home,
Yeah.
the children are becoming sexually active. They're seeing at the age of 4, 5, 6, where their mother or their father is hanky-panky in the bed. The kids are supposed to be sleeping. But we know kids, if they
Yeah.
go into bed with their stomach bubbling, they're going to be inquisitive to peep and see this. So the kids are learning to have sex at an early age.
And then we ain't teaching them about it either.
Right. So if you hear what I said before, prolific offenders, and I'm going to end on this. The kids are not prolific offenders. Programs like what the lady talked about has to be introduced in the country, and for all those out there who say that's good for them, let them kill up one another and let them listen to this. If we look at it overall, I just want to say this. If we look at it overall in this country, right, I'd say in the last 30 years in this country, in the last 20 years, we have recorded over 2,000 murders. We don't have no data from 2000, going back to 1992. There were murders committed. So I say all together, we had over close to 3,000 plus people murdered in this country. That's the data. I'm just giving my statistics based on that. So if you look at it overall, and everyone's saying let them kill up one another, that included businessmen, teachers, lawyers, archbishops, or business owners, school children, pregnant women, doctors, lawyers, everyone you can name. So this is the reason why we should take the show very seriously and listen to this lady.
Yeah, and I don't like that narrative that gets thrown about, but it's just criminals killing up each other.
No, sir.
That is the most false, the most nonsense that I've ever heard, because they are.
If that's the case, why the cruise ship's telling passengers to stay, leave your money on the boat?
But that's
just criminals.
and that's my thing. Like, it's not just criminals. You have innocent people that have their lives being taken. I mean, the lady, the teacher that got shot right there on Pargate Road of the Light, that she's not a criminal. You know what I mean? And there are many cases that you can point out where there's not just criminals that are being killed, but then it goes back to what you said.
Yeah, everything
we
you
just
said.
don't, at the end result, kill him, just let him die.
Right.
And we're not focusing on, listen,
Backfire on
why are they doing these things? Why are they doing these things? And I think we pinpointed that it has to do with that attention, that love, that affection that they're seeking.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, you don't forget what I'm already born with, right? Because I could be the best mommy and daddy, and if my child has an issue learning or has a temperament issue, I'm going to also parent. I'm going to be inept. I'm not going to be a good parent because I don't know how to parent.
That's true.
Okay? This type of child. I know how to parent a child who listens and behaves and talks only when they're spoken to.
And that child don't exist.
I don't know how to parent a child who talks back to me,
Right.
who can't keep still, who, I don't know how to parent that child. So even if I have a good heart, I don't have these skills.
Right.
That's right.
Blaming the parent, in the same way, our parent, it's generational, it's passed down.
Yes.
Because that same parent you're saying right now, I expect you to change your child around and it's your fault. They was a child too.
Yes.
Exactly.
And they were a child of somebody who gave them the skills that they have. So this is passed down. You can't blame the parents
No.
as a soul. I'm not saying parents don't have responsibility.
Right,
Okay,
right,
so
right.
let me be clear on that, because
Right.
we like to see black and white a lot. If
Exactly.
I
Yes.
say this, then Dr. Major's
Yes,
saying
it
don't
does.
blame the parents.
Exactly.
I'm saying is this, I hear it on the radio all the time. These parents got to go to old school ways. No, old
That's
school
what
is
got
how
us
we
here.
got here.
Exactly, and I
But
don't know why they
these
don't.
parents got to just, it's their fault. It's their fault.
Yeah,
No,
right.
they're victims too.
Yeah.
They can't read too.
Exactly.
They don't know how to parent this kind of child. Nobody gives you a manual.
No.
Right? So the reality is this is a community issue.
Right,
Yes.
right,
And if
right.
we don't ask why, and if we don't start fixing it, it's not going to get better, folks. I
No.
guarantee
Yes.
it.
And again-
Gambling's
and-
illegal, but I would put that out, technically.
Yeah, football.
That we are headed to be worse and worse. It's going to get worse.
And that's ridiculous because we are considered a war zone.
Yeah.
um,
and like you guys said, at my office, when I came to work that morning, none of us was surprised.
No.
I live in this, I've worked with 16-year-old rapists.
Wow.
It is, and you
16-year-old
meet,
rapists.
and if you meet any of these gang members and any of these individuals one-on-one, these are good kids.
I'm glad you said that. She's
If you
correct.
meet them one-on-one, you say, man, let's go. Let's sit down, man. What's going on? They, deep in their heart, they're just wounded children.
Yes.
I agree, and
They are
Yes.
wounded children.
Very
and I believe
children.
most
And
people are good at their core. You know
they
what I
are.
mean? And I say, I've been saying recently, the way we raise our children, I'm surprised that we are not worse than we are. But that just goes to show you that most people are good and can persevere in the worst of circumstances. Because I think the conditions that a lot of our children grow up in, we're supposed to be worse off. But that just goes to show you how resilient human beings are, and that we are good
Well,
people
we're
at our
always
core.
in a quest to be better, right? So even if you meet an addict, they really, no, man, I can stop drinking. I swear I can stop drinking, man. I can't do this no more. I can stop drinking. And then they fall off the wagon again.
Yes.
But the intention, he
Yes,
can't
right.
help it because he has an illness. But the intention is always there.
And they
The
just need some help
intention.
sometimes, you know what I mean? But we
They
like
need-
to
yes.
bash them and then send them further into, you
Yeah.
know, into whatever it is they're trying to fight, because we don't encourage them.
Yeah, how she said that, right? For example, Hugo George, remember I told you come from upscale family where he has a family, good family structure. Well, he met me in the grandstand area, hearing me during the movement and on the radio and explaining to the general public exactly what you are talking about right now. In fact, you're doing a wonderful job explaining it to the general public and to the viewers on Facebook. I would carry him in my neighborhood his first time in the grandstand, and I'd point on him and I'd say, "That's the killer right there. That's the
Really?
killer right there." Ask him. I'd say this right there, and this guy who I say that to, is no problem to him. In fact, he is so respected around the corner. He could walk around the corner without me any day, any time, and just because he got a good face in the community and people know his heart, he could walk around in grandstand community. So it ain't like what people say. The baddest at a person in the world, right? Once given the opportunity with assistance, they never disrespect a person like this beautiful lady in here, because once they meet and they know she intentionally means to help them, and they think and say, "Hey, she ain't trying to swing me or nothing," they would give their all to actually have the most respect for, "Yes, mom, no, mom."
I've
But
had-
this is not going to be the same person.
Right.
Yeah, I've had Bahamians, man, in the early 20s in my office, and then finally they break down, and I grab their hand and they go, "I can't believe you touched me. I
Yes.
can't believe you touched me." Not in a bad way, but because nobody has ever,
Get them to do
Even
that.
attempted, probably.
I mean, nobody's ever reached out to say, "Honey,
Right.
it's all right."
Right.
You know, I get it, but you know, nobody's given that, even that, just grabbing the hand, and it was like, "I can't believe you actually touched me," because
Love.
everybody come near me,
Love
they don't want
conquers
to
all.
touch me.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm all these bad things, and you don't have a problem holding my hand. You know,
So that
Awesome.
means they lack affection.
Yes.
Yeah.
Probably
And-
had no affection.
well, the rejection over
Yeah.
and
Right.
over,
Yeah.
And by just
rejection,
saying that-
rejection.
She is so right. Listen, how would get me to change Ron is that I met Celine Pinland.
Okay.
That's how, and listen, you know, seeing the man on TV and all that is all good. But we were gangsters, and he sent to meet us because he wanted to find out what the problem was with young guys in the streets, and he wanted to find the gang leaders, and we were introduced to him. Me and my friend James Charles, he's one of the leaders also of our former gang. And meeting him, I started to tremble. All I got to say, "But that's the Prime Minister?" I said, "Yes, sir. No, sir." And the authority in me was gone. I was like a humble young man knowing that I was talking to the former Prime Minister or the Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. And
Right.
the fact of the matter, we were happy, and he encouraged us and he put us to school. That's how I get to become a community activist and doing what I'm doing now in the community. Just like she said, she's
Okay.
telling the truth.
Uh-huh.
Honestly, that's what made me make my big time around meeting the man who you see on TV from you hear everyone talking to him, highly respected, and then he would uplift me, grab me, put me on my shoulder, he say, y'all young man, we need to provide opportunity for you all, because now you understand. That's why he made that speech and said, now we know. If he had the opportunity, he would try to do what he did and invest more time in the young generation. That's why he wanted to start the program. And many people said he was crazy. But
Youth Service.
National Youth Service, because we were the generation that reached him. When we reached him, he said, "Oh man, if I knew what I knew now,
Right.
I would definitely invest in you guys." He said, "If I'm successful, I will." And he said he was to direct his party. That was he's passed the party from himself to the Honorable Perry Gladstone Christie. He said, "This man is going to be the one who enable you all to do these things." Well, unfortunately,
That didn't work out so well. eh?
but I mean,
But
it was good. It was good.
But that's important to
Yeah,
say,
it was
because it
someone-
tells you also the power we have in our community.
Yes.
The issue I have is we have people who have the ability to make great changes, and it don't even gotta go through no parliament.
No.
You know, we have people, ministers, the prime ministers, we have spiritual leaders that if they thought different, if they understood and they got educated, the amount of difference they could make on a day-to-day basis by just reaching out.
Yeah.
Just reaching
And that's
out.
what it's just simple as
Just
showing that
reaching
he
out.
cared.
That's
You'd
what
be
reality
surprised.
is.
You'd be
And
surprised.
sincere about it.
He was amazed, and he
Yeah.
was amazed also. I'd just like to say that to the general public and the viewers.
Yeah, because I was going to ask you, like, what what was that turning point that made you say, well, this is what I'm doing. I can't continue to go on like this. I need to make a change. Was it just that meeting with the Prime Minister?
No,
or was it, tell us what
no.
really made you
Meeting
make
the
that
Prime
change?
Minister was a moment in time that reflected on your ability as a human being that you can be anybody and meet the most important people in the world.
Okay.
That was like a turning point. You want, since you want to be
Yeah, man,
right,
tell us, man,
I
keep
wanna
it
be
real.
Okay, what is my turning point? Okay, in my lifetime, right, and in my lifetime, being a guy on the screen, I was very troublesome. See, I was a menace to society. All right, I was troublesome. I had many enemies. In my lifetime, I was shot at. Listen to me, 21 to 22 times from different enemies in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas.
Wow. You had Secret Service security here.
No, God is
Boy,
my
Superman.
secret. God, I'm telling you the truth. I can remember all the guys. I always call their names and stuff. Some of the guys, I can call them because some of them are my good friends. And that's to verify that I was telling the truth. One of them was Marvin Bodie. He lives in Mason Addition. He was one of the first bad, real terrorists in the country. So I just call his name to verify what I'm saying to the viewers, so that I'm not telling a lie. One is my friend now, France. He lives down this street right down here. He was one of the leaders of the rebellion gangs. He shot at me 15 times with a 9mm. All right, not got hit. My friend Chicken got shot in the back. All right.
Wow.
I've had my friend who's deceased now, Lynx. He just got killed 2 years ago, along with his two sons got killed also.
Wow.
Just recently in the last 2 years. He himself opened fire at me. So I've had guys.
Hold on, let me ask. They still got this vibe with you.
No. They love what I'm doing now because this is our
I might have
life.
to look out the window.
No. I'm just explaining to you.
No.
This is the real life. You
Yeah,
know?
I got you.
So now they respect me and they understand what I'm doing because
Right.
now I'm a community activist. I do a lot of community work, not only for my community but for the country. And you know that. I work along with the Bahamas government, just do the national development plan. I do a lot of things. Help a lot of the groups
Yeah, man.
start in the country. So I do a lot of
Yeah,
stuff.
man, we know your resume, man.
So I'm just saying to you,
Yeah.
that's how serious it is. And what made me change around is when I realized that that's all illusion. Because like I said, the enemies now who shot at me or I shot at also, we become good friends. So now we're good friends now. We talking like this every day. For those who are deceased, well, they lost their life. But for us who live and we are good friends now, they are my best set of friends. Like the Bible tells you, what the Bible tells you. Your worst enemy shall become what? Your best friend. And your best friend shall become your what? Worst enemy. So it's the truth. All my enemies, my friend who was my enemies now are my best friend. They encourage me.
Okay.
You see? And what made me change my life is when I realized that my life was not serving its true purpose.
Oh, okay.
I say I'm a leader. And I have a lot of guys following me and along with my friends who are also leaders. But I'm carrying down the road of no nothingness. We accomplish the world by everyone knowing you, but yet still you don't have a house. You don't have a car. You don't have a family. You understand what I'm saying? The area is ravaged where you ain't even safe no more because you could retire and you still could get locked up from this or get shoot because the area you lived in, you have done nothing to develop it. And after looking at all that and I got locked up the last time, I say, you know what? That's it for me, man. You know what I mean? I said, that's it for me. I said, man, I know it in myself. I have potentials to do something great because I was a mastermind. But all that, I only went to jail twice, but I was only on remand for 2 weeks, and the last time was 3 weeks. And to verify that, I was in the cell with my friend who shot at me, France, and the leader was Kelsey Lundy of the Rebellion Raiders. These were the two leaders, and I ended up in their cell in Foxhill prison.
What?
So you see how it's go? When the whole jail tried gang me, these guys took me in.
Wow.
And Foxhill prison. So that's why I call the name so that make reference to everything that I'm saying is true.
Now tell us, how does one make that transition? Because that could be rough.
Yes, it's very difficult.
People, you may still have these enemies and they may still be coming after you. So how does one, if one recognizes, listen, I do some things in my life, it's time for me to make a change. What steps do they take to go ahead and make that transition into from a life of crime into a more like what you're doing with yourself now to a life of prosperity?
First thing, you're going to have to get rid of company. All company. All friends who you're associated with, you have to get rid of. You have to stop going out, and you have to stay inside a lot. Stay away from anyone you know who's involved in problem. You stay away. When you see problem in the road, you walk and you go inside and you lock your door. And then people start to realize, because people forget quick, people start to realize that, hey, this guy ain't bothered with me no more. Trust me.
Really?
That's what happened with my case.
Really?
I stayed inside 2 years.
So you just have to stay away for a while?
I got convicted for firearm possession when a task force locked me up with a .380 pistol. The officer who locked me up is Ellison Greenslade's brother, Austin Greenslade, who's the district superintendent for the Eastern Branch of the Royal Bahamas Police Force. Him along with 3 other officers. And when I got locked up there, I was on probation. And the judge told me it was Gregory Hilton, and they gave me 2 years probation based upon when they did my evaluation, my probation report. And when I told them why I was carrying the gun, and he did a evaluation, and I got a friend of my dead friend, he said, I'm going to give you a chance, young man. And he said, you have a chance to either go to prison if you violate your probation. So he said, what is the best place I could put you? So I said, so in my community, if I go in any other community, I get killed. So he told me to go to a church in my church in my community, which was Mission Baptist Church. You understand, Pastor Reverend Cooper accepted me, and I did my 2 years probation. Around that time, that was my time of transition where I stayed inside. I stopped keeping company, stopped going to the nightclub, and I stopped with my friends because I want the general public to know that they're all bad boys. Your friends will be the ones to kill you. Your friends will be the one to try and trade on you. The friends will bring out your secrets. So I just want all of them to know that at the end of the day, you're going to lose your life. Or you're going to go to jail for a very long time. So that's my transition point right now.
Right. I want to put something in perspective here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Every time I hear this from Scoochie, all these times he was shot, I can't stop but think about how many children I heard of would have been playing with a gun and either shoot him and kill a parent or kill themselves or kill a little brother. How many people we know got shot and paralyzed, got shot and died, got shot or end up in a situation they end up in jail just off of one incident. This man gets shot at 21 times and he's still here.
Yeah, and they're pickable lead.
Not only that, he turned his life around and he now doing positive stuff to turn back the tide. God have him covered for a reason.
So it could be,
Absolutely.
You know?
So, yeah, with this
it
great
makes
audience.
sense to support and work with it.
Yeah, and
that's all the motivation anybody would need.
And these are the voices that we need to hear from, because if you've never experienced what you have been through, you can't tell me nothing about what these children going through in the hood.
Yes.
If you live behind a gate somewhere in this nice prominent neighborhood, how you could tell me what Scrooge going through in being down?
And that's the solution for some people. Buy a piece of property, get in a gated community, and
because they just want to get away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They don't want to deal with it.
That's their coping strategy too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because a lot of people don't want to do
I
it.
mean, as you know, part of coping is I'm going to be silent. I'm going to withdraw, and I'm going to say my problem. That's if it's my problem, then I got to do something about it.
Exactly.
And you know, and that's how our country works. You go to McDonald's, you go to Checkers, you go. Everybody's sitting around a table, but what that person ain't doing right, and you sit down. If you walk in and say, "What you doing?" They ain't doing nothing, but
Yeah.
they willing to tell you what everybody ain't doing right.
And you listen, like you say, and it sounds like you listen to the radio quite a bit. I do as well. And you hear all the time people, oh, well, this person need to do this person need to do that. And if you challenge them and you say, okay, well, listen, I having this drive, or I having this march, or I having this, come out. Oh, well, I got to do this, and they'll come up with every excuse not to participate. But they will sit there and criticize all day. And this is why we were saying before we started, to me, a lot of people only want to complain. They don't want no solutions.
No.
They don't want resolutions. And the sad part is oftentimes these are the loudest voices.
And that's the
These
problem
are
in
the
our
people
country
you
now.
hear the most.
I would rather listen to you because what you said, you experienced it. You making more sense than many people I've talked to in the country because you actually experienced it. So you was one who could make a big difference in the country. And the thing is, the problem is we have
They ain't wanna
poisons.
listen to me.
No, they listen. They better listen because we talking real talk here. This is real talk.
Right.
So many poisons are listening. I just want you to understand this. Poisons like yourself, right, are overshadowed by too much high intellect poisons who speak for us. Who are going through this, say they speaking for us, never experience it, never witness it, and they always is the ones who cause the major problem in the country. What happened to us? I'd rather be on a panel with her, and be on a panel with you, and be on a panel with yourself, and a few others who I feel can make a difference because our heart and desire is there. I can't be on a panel. I'm telling you, I'm getting tired of going to meetings right now. Listen to too much high intellect poison.
Exactly.
Because
And it's like Hugo said before, everybody just wants sound smart.
they use your same words right there. They have a conversation all day about the same thing, and you don't really talk a solution, but they're not going. They're going to piggyback on your own words and use your own words against you. You're going to be up and forward, and we get to nowhere.
Absolutely.
And it's just, I think, as Wayne Thompson says, mental masturbation. People just want to get off in their own head, off of their own intellect on how smart they could sound. You know what I mean? And don't really want to get to the bottom of the issues and resolve them. And I don't like to get into those discussions because what are we talking about?
Yeah.
What are we talking about? So I like to deal with the solutions. Now, let's dive into, we probably got about 10 more minutes.
All right,
Let me
let's go.
dive into, and y'all can tell me if y'all agree or not.
Go ahead.
But I feel like, and this is something this is a position I took up since I had my child.
All right.
Because beforehand, I was on the other side, which is the beating your children, right?
Yes.
And I tell people all the time, and I don't know why they don't make the correlation or see the correlation. If you use violence and aggression to raise your children, chances are you are going to have a violent, aggressive society. Because I don't see how you can teach a child that when someone does something that you don't like, you are free to hit them, to keep them in line, or as they like to say, discipline them. But then after doing that for 18 years or however many years, you then expect them to use their brains or another form to resolve issues. That's like messed up. It's not logical for you to use violence someone's entire life and then expect them not to be violent or have that first reaction of violence whenever they encounter something or a situation that they can't deal with, that they lash out with violence. I think it's illogical to expect that. But that seems like what we do. We expect that, we need to beat them more. But it's like she said, that's what got us here.
Yeah.
We've been cutting him. We've been cutting him.
You ain't going to go in jail and talk to anybody behind. You could correct me if I'm wrong. And they could sit there and say, oh, no, I never was beaten. Right? They're not, if it worked, we wouldn't be here.
Exactly.
We
Because,
wouldn't
like
be
I say,
here.
we've been cutting him. So if that was the solution and it worked, we wouldn't be as violent as we were. But people don't seem to want to even entertain that.
But part of that is, just going on the other side, is because they don't know what else to do.
That's right.
So you have to understand, if all I know is to beat and shame, use a sissy if you don't do this. What's wrong with you? You know, if all I know is to shame and beat you into compliance and do what you're supposed to do, that's all I know. So again, when we say it's not right, you're right. The science says it, the psychology says it, there's enough out there. However, when I sit down with a parent, they'd be like, Dr. Major, I tried everything. I know what to do.
Right.
And that's what I
That's
hate
the
to
truth.
hear. You did not try everything. You know what I mean?
But they don't know what
They
to
don't
do.
know.
Exactly.
It's not their fault.
They don't
Yeah,
know.
and
Because-
I agree with you.
Because you have to give them the tools to what to do instead. That they say, well, what do I do in this case? What do I do in this case? Because in their mind, they think, well, then I'm supposed to ignore everything. I'm supposed to just let them disrespect me that way.
And like you said, we only
Right?
we tend to see black and white.
Yes.
Extremes. We only see the extremes.
We don't know how that as a parent, my job is to teach you.
and love and
Exactly.
nature.
Model, show, let's try again. What should we do instead
Right,
next time?
humbly.
You know,
And
all
what
of
I
that
say all the
stuff.
time, who in here, if someone hits you, tell me what you gonna learn out of that situation. You think you're trying to hear what they saying to you? If someone come right here and slap you to try and teach you a lesson, you think you're trying to hear what they have to say to you?
No.
Well,
Go ahead, Hugo.
You know, you're right. You're right. I would say, based on my experience growing up, my recollection of discipline, I told a lot of cut it, right? But one incident in particular, I was deprived from going out with some friends. I was told I couldn't go, and I remember that resonated more than any cut hip that I've ever had. In today's world, translate that to just cutting off the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, that's what I do with my
Yes.
child, like just taking away privileges. You wanted to add, Valentino?
Yeah, what you're saying is you're correct. I know. I feel that in this day and age, and that's just be frustration with the parents.
Yes, I agree.
I just want, like we talked about that. That's just frustration. And guess what? If you see the mom or the daddy later on the next 30, 40 minutes, they're patting that child, they're wiping them, and you want to get something to eat.
Yeah.
And someone's going to say they're sorry, but someone's too hard and even say they're sorry.
Yeah. I mean, I could do a whole show on this, so I can
Yeah.
come back and,
Yeah, we come back and do that one.
and do it. But
So that's-
When you want to beat a child when you're frustrated, you're gonna the beating is
Need
even
more
gonna be
or
worse.
anger.
Yeah.
You're
Yes.
taking all that,
The rage
put all
and
that
anger.
stress into that
Right.
You know?
And you would
That's
probably
right.
find that if you would have take a few minutes,
And talk.
calm down, that desire to hit the child would likely go away.
Yes.
Like you say, it often, I tell people, when you have that feeling to hit a child, it's often because, like you say, you're frustrated or you angry or
Right.
something. But if you take the time to calm down, I could almost guarantee that urge would go away. But we like to act in the moment. We're very emotive.
Yes,
you know what I
that's,
mean?
that's our biggest problem right there. And to add on to that, you know that child right now is going to be programmed that when they have children to do the same thing. He do this
Exactly.
curriculum too.
Exactly.
Passed on.
And that's what we've been doing.
You know, that's what it is. You
Yeah.
see? So I'm glad we have this conversation because I want the people to know this is a real topic and this is a real conversation because all that real life stuff I talked about and all is true. And I just want the general public to know that in the viewers on Facebook.
And on that note, I just want to say we need to change our approach. And it's like what you alluded to earlier. We got to change this approach of finger pointing. Oh, you this, that. We all are one community, right? So if you just sitting there and blaming, I could guarantee you stay there criticizing that parent and denigrating that child, that same child might be the same one to come through your window in
Of
the night.
course.
So it all goes back to, like they say, the village. It takes a village
To grow a child.
I think we've gotten so far away from that mentality to where we just want to criticize and point fingers at people as opposed to help them. You know what I mean? Help the child. Okay, you notice that something is off here. Try and figure out what's going wrong or where you could assist. Now, I understand that in this day and age, that's difficult because we all are busier.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Everybody working more hours, everybody more caught up with their own stuff. So I understand it's difficult. I understand that you can't be able to lend that time to everybody. I get that. But if there is a time, you can do your best to do so and try to stop criticizing so much and just so quick to attack people. And that's like, if you listen to the radio, like that's all you
They
would
do
hear.
all day.
All day, every day is attack. Because you could have very well been, people would write you off long time.
Yeah, and no one gave me a chance, you know. I took my own chance just
Yeah.
to show people that the baddest set of person can become one of the best persons in the country, and I'm leading by example. So that's what I came on the show for, and that's what I'm doing on the shows I go to because I want to show people, given the opportunity, people would take that chance and become people of great in our Commonwealth of the Bahamas.
And that's all they need. All they need is opportunity, and like I said, all they need is that attention.
That's
They
all
just
they
want to feel like somebody care about them. That's why when I hear people on the radio calling them animals and savages, these beasts, these who don't want to learn and they ain't into nothing and this and that.
There's a lot of talented
Yes.
people out there, and I think we just need to
Harness it.
intentionally help people find their purpose in life. You know, once we do that, you'll have Olympians, you'll have
Yes.
new
Yes.
leaders, you'll be amazed at what could come out of what you call the ghetto, or
Yeah.
Right.
you know.
I'm a journalist. Imagine me. How in the world? How in the world? How?
That's a living example right on the side. You know what I mean?
Also, I don't
More
know.
like him.
Yeah, exactly, and I
never-
agree.
Many more.
I never knew.
And I also hate to hear when people say, "Oh, this person he ain't got no talent." No talent. There's no such thing as someone without talent.
I never been to school for this. In fact, what I learned is what I learned from grade 1 to 6. Junior high and senior high school never teach me nothing. What I learned from grade 1 to grade 6 to 1980 to 1986 in T.A. Thompson and the teachers. Because the teachers, let me tell you something. You see my name Valentino Brown. Let me, teacher tell me spell my name. And you let me go to the board. And she say, capital letter, small letter. And let me go put 2 capital letter. Even though I spell it right, she let me finish. And listen, 1,000 or 100 times I have to write that name and letter over and over and over and over until my
Until you get
fingers
it.
blister. All right? So that's how it was back in the days. I learned everything from 1980 to 1986. Junior high, when I reached junior high school, I didn't know about fractions,
But you know what's the point of that is, which is something I'm a big advocate for, is that's why getting to the young,
Early.
early
Yes.
babies, early intervention is so important because you can teach little children these skills. Giving them a social emotional curriculum in the school, giving them a lot, by infusing this at a young age, you lay that foundation.
Yes.
Even if they're going home to a bad home, there are ways get these kids, the little ones, this foundation, to set them on their way, because that is important. It's much harder. They're already 18. Not
yeah.
saying it can't get done, but what I'm saying is we're just taking out fires.
That's right.
That's all we're doing.
That's right.
Yeah.
We're just taking out fires. We're not doing nothing. We're not helping anything. We're not changing anything. We're just fires. Okay, there was a stabbing. Let's go get metal detectors.
Yeah.
You know,
I
so
was like,
so that's the, it is a part of the whole overall, but we're just it's called suppression. We're suppressing people. We're just, you know, putting band-aids on
Yes.
band-aids on band-aids
We only
on
interested in treating
band-aids on
symptoms.
band-aids.
Yeah, we just
but,
want to
you
treat
know, so
symptoms.
the child ain't gonna stabbed him in the schoolyard. They could do it outside the school. You're not changing anything that's gonna
Exactly.
happen.
And they're gonna wake
And you're
around
probably
that.
making it worse.
You're just
especially-
making the parents feel better.
Yeah.
The stabbings
You know?
were happening outside. It's just that we talking
Yeah.
about this because this one happened inside.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's-
And there was
all-
one just, was it last year?
Doris Johnson.
Doris Johnson was last year, right? And that one actually
yeah,
died.
He died.
You know what I mean? So this has been going on.
And then you remember the school boy who got shot on Blue Hill Road from CC Speeding a few years ago, and a few other stabbings, like you said. You know. And
This been happening, and that's why when I hear
Yeah.
people on the radio, oh, this new thing, and it's because
Yeah.
of this and that. This been going on.
It doesn't change to me. I could just say this, you know, from my time being a gangster on the streets and no problems. The only thing is the youth get a little dumber. But they, you know what I mean?
I agree.
Because they blast you in the road, you know. I mean, be sure, but I mean, these guys, them are actually so bold now, and they're blazing now. So, you know, I protected my freedom. These guys ain't care about their freedom right now. So, you know what that means? That's insensitive. That means they are not lovable, like you said. Growing up with all these things make them hardened. Means
Yeah.
that they look like human, but they're actually animals. But they're looking for that love until they find that love, and that comes from a person who's going to be able to reach them. Like I said, my friend was in the H Street community for his first time, and I told you I point at a few persons who was involved in crime I know who are actually doing active shooting or involved in stuff, and I asked him. He's talking to them frequently every day, and you can never expect that these are the persons because they are very respectful.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
But once they leave from there and they go in an environment, they are doing other stuff. But I know we can reach them because I was reached myself.
Yeah, we just have to change the environment.
Yes.
That's
And the
because
way
that's
that we
what's-
reach them.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
I'm going to go out to say, you know, having spoken to I mean, when we go in and our reverends and so go in and even talking about God, a lot of these kids, they're not there yet.
No, sir.
They're so angry. Where was God when my uncle was
That
raping
blocked
me?
out.
Where was God then? This foolishness coming in here talking about this
Yeah.
foolishness.
Yeah.
I ain't listening to that.
No,
See,
sir.
we got to understand. I'm not saying we have to put God aside, but we got to reach these kids, because if we're trying to make them think the way we think, the way we feel, what works for us, that ain't gonna work.
No, it's not going to work.
You know?
I think the first step is to establish a relationship.
But no.
Yeah.
Come
Yes.
trying to preach to
Yeah.
them.
Exactly.
Because you're preaching on
Exactly.
their face.
Introduce yourself,
Yeah.
or you know, be around them. Let people see that you're sincere, that you really have a heart and trying to make a difference. And then after a while, they will open up to you,
Yes.
and
Yes.
you will have an opportunity to share the message
Yes.
That you need to share.
that you need to share.
Instead
Yes.
of
and,
spoon.
and over time, you would see a difference.
You know?
But
I agree.
We didn't
Yeah.
this ain't happen. The problems we face ain't happen overnight, so it can take a while to fix it.
Exactly, and that's our problem too. We always look
We
for the
want
quick fix.
instant-
Ain't no
Yeah,
quick
we
fix
want
in
that.
this.
We want
Hey.
that microwave solution.
Yes.
We want to pop it in and want to be ready to
Yeah.
digest right
Yeah.
there.
Some things
It can
like
take that. Like it would take us decades. This is generation after generation that has gotten us here, and it's probably going to take a couple of generations to get us out of it.
Yes.
But we have to do the necessary things to get there, because you know you have kids, you have a child, I have a child. You have kids too.
Yes.
You
I have a child.
you have. We all have children, and we want them to have the best lives and to be in the best environment possible. So we gonna do our part, and we're gonna do what we can to bring about that necessary change. I want to take the time to thank you guys for showing up. It's been
Thank
more than an
you.
hour now. I want to thank you for this great conversation. Hugo, Valentino, Michelle, thank you so much.
Thank
Gotta
you
have
so much.
gotta have you all back on different topics as
Please.
well, so we can get into some
No
other
problem.
things. I know you want to get into some education and some other stuff as well, and also corporal punishment. We could do a whole show on that,
Oh, yeah.
so we could get into that. I want to take the time to thank you all and continue to do what y'all have been doing. Let's reach these guys, and if a lot of people in society don't want to show they care, we got to at least show that we care.
Better.
And we want to improve on it. So thank you once again, and thank you people for tuning in. And until next time. All right.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Michelle was
Thank you,
a
thank
good
you.
president. Pleasure to meet you.
Yes, you
Pleasure
were very
meeting you. I hope
intelligent.